budget for 2020.
So you said that your name was attached to all of the accounts except one?
My name is on every city account.
But yet you didn't know anything about any of these accounts.
Well, I do some of them, yeah, the general fund, the SWAT, and stuff, but I mean, I don't deal with the police department.
Will we get a business come in regards to these accounts?
I guess we do, yeah. If you wanna, y'all wanna take me out and hang me, hang me. I mean, y'all minding me forever.
Oh, well, because you see, we have to adjust you. So that's why we're adjusting you. But I'm just saying that we, as the residents, are depending on the group of you to do the best on our behalf. Hearing stuff like this is disturbing. It doesn't
But
give
it-
confidence in you.
This has gone back to even Tommy Smith, and when Hugh Lewis was made.
And
All these
so
accounts have
you
been.
haven't, this isn't your first rodeo on the council. You've been here for a few years.
No, ma'am, it's not.
Okay.
I'll take the blame, thank you. Well, in the public hearing at the time, we go right into council meeting. An invocation will be given by the city chaplain, Craig McAdams, and that will remain standing for pledge of the flag.
Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, we thank you for today. Thank you for our time that we're able to come together in this place. Father, it's such a privilege to live where we're able to live and live freely, come express our views and our opinions and our thoughts. And we thank you for that freedom we have. We thank you for the men and women that have fought for those freedoms that we get to enjoy every day. So we thank you, and we ask first that you continue to watch over those that continue to protect our freedom today. We pray for tonight. We pray for this meeting time. We pray for our leaders that lead our city. Thank you for their time and their willingness to lead such a capacity. We thank you that they are willing to do what they do. And so, Father, we pray for wisdom, pray for peace, pray for unity within our city. Father, we know that with a diverse city and a wonderful, beautiful city, God, we know that you can do great things. And so I pray for unity and joy and peace in this place. God, we love you. We thank you again for the opportunity to be here. Pray that you're honored in all that we do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Presentation and approval of city council meeting minutes. Regular session minutes held September 10th, 2019. Need a motion to approve or deny or make any changes.
And also make a motion to approve the minutes of September 2019.
Have a motion made by Mr. Mitchell. Do I have a second? By Mr. Turner. Any discussion? All in favor? Passes 6-0. Acknowledgement of guests, proclamation, resolution, or plaques. Do we have anything, Ms. Brooks?
No, sir.
Okay. Public comments. Do we have people signed up for public comments?
Yes, sir. We have 8 citizens who have signed up for public comment. They all live within city limits of the city of Hampton, so I won't mention any addresses.
Okay.
The first person we have is Michael Rocco. He's here to speak about ordinance 483, event and annexation.
Okay. And how much time do they get a piece, Ms. Brooks?
Each individual will have 1.9 minutes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Michael Rockwell, 1211 Double Rock Road. Again, Mr. Mayor, I am asking you, will you extend public comment to the additional 15 minutes if you are authorized to do so that all 8 people will be able to speak the full 3 minutes?
Not tonight, sir, we have a full agenda.
Before you tonight, first item under old business is the second reading of a proposed change to City Order 483. Last week, I sent a letter to you, Mr. Mayor, each member of this council, members of city administration. In this letter, I attempted to convey not only my concerns, but those of the community I represent. These proposed changes, as sure as day turns tonight, were drafted and proposed but for one purpose, and that is to allow the development proposed by Mr. Jim Claiborne. The development does not exist except for these changes. There was no public hearing held on these proposed zoning changes, even though they directly affect roughly 10% of the population of this city. Those in Cobblestone, east of West Floyd, Floyd Road, and Floyd Lane. Passage of this ordinance without at least an opportunity for the public to express their concerns and apparent opposition to these changes, or to allow our newly elected city planner an opportunity to understand the potential long-term detriment these changes could affect. This ordinance must not be passed until the full impact of these changes are known and the public has been given the opportunity to voice their concerns.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Next person is Alfred Williams, no topic.
I don't know if the, when they can go, I don't know what the number is identifying this topic. It's in reference to the 91 lots, homes that they talked about the last time we had the city council meeting. During that meeting, it was tabled, and it was stated that the city council will put together a town hall meeting to talk to the communities that were going to be involved there, have to deal with the situation that's coming. Since then, it's been 30 days, we've not heard anything about the town hall meeting, don't know when it's going to happen. So I'm here to ask, when is that going to happen? And what's the date? So I'm putting on our meeting so we will know what we're going to do.
Ms. Bond, our city planner, are you ready to go forward with that?
Not this one, we're talking about the thing that last meeting.
It was my understanding that certain city council members wanted to host community meetings. We've been tied up with the budget, so I'll take the blame for not having coordinated that.
Okay.
I will follow up with you, and we'll post it on the website once we create a time to meet. We want to go out into the communities, and we'll follow up so you get postings.
We appreciate that, Southampton, Cobblestone, and also the Hampton, we'd like to know what's going on, and what we want to do.
I also want to share with you that the developer's been called in for meeting with staff. We have had our planner review what he has proposed, and we have listened to the complaints that were brought up in past meetings, so we have a list of questions. And frankly, his conceptual plan, we're going to share with him our analysis of what the problems are. So we have a meeting with him, and then we'll have public meetings to get feedback and share information, because it seems that a lot of times people share information based on rumor and not always accurate. So we're going to we'll post what the facts are, and when it becomes a reference, and reference the codes that are being considered.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Next.
Mr. Leonard Warren. Speak about zoning.
Yes, Leonard Hart, 289 Woodstone Drive. Yes, I was speaking in reference to the planning of the 250 homes, but you guys said that you were not gonna discuss that. So I would like to get one.
Until we have give the city planner time and the city manager to what he just said, and we will come to involve our community meeting.
Can I give the rest of my minutes to Mikey?
If I have to, and I will, if there's any that he will be my first one back, then.
All right, thank you.
Next.
Dexter Class.
I didn't say my concern with the rest of them, public comment.
Okay.
Mr. Harley Lowe. Ordinance 43.
Harley Lowe, 171 Lake Hampton Drive. I have a concern about ordinance 483, specifically section 5-6, section 2I3. Reads, the PD district shall be applicable to areas located on major arterial roads. And goes on to mention water and sewer. There's been an effort to strike the major arterial roads from that particular requirement for planning district. East King, West King, Floyd Road all come together right there where this proposed development will exit. They're all 16 feet wide roads, and major arterial road is 24 feet at their minimum in width. 250 homes, minimum 500 cars twice a day, all trying to funnel out on a 16-foot wide road. There's a reason for putting planned developments on major arterial roads, primarily to help with congestion that can be caused by this big or type of a development. Be a major strain on the infrastructure, and the congestion and the health and safety of the people who live there now would be affected.
Thank you, sir. Next.
Edmond Oliver.
Oliver.
This is about road name.
Speak about what I heard on the assignment.
Speak about
Road
anything.
name.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. The road name. I have questions about how things that perhaps you have not considered, if you have taken into consideration. One is, we are cutting down a lot of trees and greenery and forestry for this development. Have you considered that we are impacting the quality, our air quality here in Hampton by allowing this development? Also, there is a site called Henry Moving Forward that I happened to stumble across. And it lists a lot of things that should be considered when considering this type of development to come into your community. One being traffic and infrastructure, as well as the developers and the owners and the investors of this project. And some of this land is already, has been owned by some of the partners some time ago. They're just not purchasing it now. So being that it's already owned by the people that's wanting to bring in this development, then some of the restrictions, code restrictions and things would not apply to that portion of the property, and that's the biggest portion of the property. So considerations before all of these things before you approve that, then I'm wondering, have you considered it? And if you haven't, you should. And I encourage all of you to look at that site, Henry Moving Forward. Okay. And there are articles there and maps and things about what's going on in Hampton and what these changes would bring about.
Thank you, Ms. Oliver. Next.
This is Pamela Duchesne, please. 2020 budget.
Okay.
Pamela Duchesne, 136 Madison. I'm not really going to say much more about the budget other than whatever happens, I hope you're paying off the debt, because the citizens are tired of paying that debt. And the rest of the money, I hope you're gonna, invest it better than getting, less than a percentage interest rate. In regards to the arterial roads, I have concerns. I think you guys need to revisit that, especially if you're planning to grow the city, for traffic control. That's what's gonna happen. And third, months ago, I thought we approved that we were gonna get some roads and get some sidewalks in Southampton. I'm just wondering when that's gonna happen. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any more? Anybody else?
Linda Statham here to speak about the water bill.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Linda Statham, I live at 35 Rose Lane. I had to have a huge tree taken out of my yard a couple of weeks ago. I hired someone to come in and re-landscape the backyard, and I've got to put in 7 pallets of salt. I called up here last week to see if I could get the storage car taken off over and above what I normally use, because I'm gonna have to put down a ton of water to keep the sod alive. And she said there was no accommodation for that. I was wondering if there's any way that y'all could work with me on the storage part of the water.
Mr. City Manager?
Please meet with me after the meeting.
Yes, sir.
And if you can't stay for the entire meeting, I welcome you to call tomorrow and I'll set it for you.
Thank you very much. I'll wait on it.
Exhibits to be brought.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
That completes it.
Michael?
Three quick items, if I may. Number one, political signs. All over this city are signs in violation of city code and are too large by code standards. Some of our individuals who are running for office took it upon themselves when they became aware of this code and corrected their signs. However, many of the candidates did not, and they are still displayed. I would like to know why. Another item. There is an item tonight for a special alcohol beverage event application for a city-sponsored event. According to documentation that was published, the event date is October 12th. However, at the top of the form, it says the application must be made at least 60 days in advance. But when you go back and you look at the date it was submitted, it was September 26th, not near 60 days. I'm wondering, are these codes just for show? Are these restrictions, these policies just for show? Or do they have a valid application? One other item. On tonight's agenda, you have the annexation of 2,000 acres, southwest portion of Hampton, down below Graceland. It would seem to me that an annexation of land encompassing almost half the existing land of the city would be subject to at least a public hearing before it comes before the council. Thank you.
I will address that to my city attorney because I asked the same question. There's not asking for any zoning changes or nothing, is that correct?
State law doesn't require there to be a public hearing for annexations that are not accompanied with zoning change.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay. Any more? Okay, we've ended public comments, moving to old business. Under A, consideration and action on adoption of ordinance number 483, second reading, amending appendix A, zoning article 1, legal provision at section 1-6, legally districts to be repealed, article 5, residential district at section 5-6, PD plan development district, to provide for coefficient, to provide for serviceability, to provide for repeal of conflicting ordinances, to provide for adoption, an effective date, and provide for other lawful purposes. I need a motion to approve on second reading or deny on second reading, and it passed on first reading 4-2.
Mr. Mayor, I think,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
And, these zoning changes have been, before you for a while.
and at Mr. Bird's behest, he asked specifically if you get our city planner to review the 9 changes. You've heard comments, these things were first brought to you back in April prior to me being hired. They went before the ZAB board, they came back. You had a meeting either in July or August, I believe in July, in which Mr. Stacy George Rudisill came. He made a presentation.
There was a public hearing.
There was a public hearing on it. So a public hearing, a lot of comments have been made about this, but frankly not factually true. There was a public hearing on it. Mr. Rudisill made some very good recommendations, and there was particularly in the area about campaign signs. There was one area that came up, and legal counsel, and Mr. Rudisill worked in a coordinated effort to make sure that we weren't going to violate any free speech rights as it pertains. But pursuant to Mr. Bird's request that our city planner have opportunity to review all these before it came before you for second reading, I asked Ms. Moore to do a deep dive into the ordinance and also to put fresh set of eyes on it to see if there were any other recommendations that she would make based on her excellent background, education, experience, and years in planning. So I would like just to, and so she has highlighted 4 of the 9 ordinances that are coming before you, 43, 44, 45, and 47. She has specific recommendations to make some modifications to the language that you have presently before you. And she's going to pose them. She'll make presentations as to those recommendations, each one, and then you can take action based on her recommendations if you want to modify and making a motion to amend that into it. So without any further ado, I'd like to ask Ms. Moore to come forward and address her recommendations for ordinance 43.
Good evening. This is Friday, the first time before you guys, and I appreciate the opportunity to review the ordinance. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we're looking at ordinances, we have already, but I just want to reiterate, we are looking at them to be reasonable, understandable, and enforceable. And with that focus, as well as collaboration with our existing codes, I looked at the proposed changes. And they're minor, but we're going to start off with the first one that has the most quote changes. And that is 483 plan development. And if I can just clarify, this ordinance is a plan development that requires a mix of residential uses. It's not to allow for a mix of commercial uses or any other type of use other than a mix of residential uses, which includes single family, cottages, townhomes, multifamily, etc. And I just wanted to make sure that we all understand that moving forward. And one of the first changes in the identification of the professional consultant, we just wanted to define it and keep it simple and say that the person who is a registered design professional who prepared the plan within the scope of their respective legal responsibilities. That just came out, because we admitted landscape architect, we admitted land surveyor, so we just want to be succinct. And then in particular, for the regulations of lot sizes and setbacks, if you'll look on page 4 of your ordinance, item number 5, the recommendation changes minimum lot width 20 feet is how it's stated currently. I'm suggesting that we further define those lot widths in reference to the uses. So it would read 20 feet for cottage and townhomes, 40 feet for single family, detached, rear loaded, 60 feet for single family front loaded, and 100 feet for duplex and multifamily. And then a minimum front yard, we have listed at 10 feet. I would like to add that 10 feet is for rear-loaded product, and 20 feet minimum for a front-loaded product, which will allow a car to park in the front driveway, for the 20 feet. The minimum side yard, we have listed at 10 feet. I would like to add that 10 feet is for detached, single-family product, which would allow 20 feet between each home. 0 feet for attached product, and 15 feet for duplex and multifamily residential. And that provides a typical fire code of 30 feet between a multifamily building and home. Additionally, on number 7, just added as clarification that off-street parking must be provided and access from alleys in situations where rear-loaded product is attached, or utilized, I'm sorry. So those are the changes that I'm suggesting in the plan development code.
Ms. Moore, you would also highlight, isn't in this ordinance already that it calls for traffic counts?
Yes, sir. This
To be
particular
before
ordinance,
development, before PD could be approved.
the ordinance has a lot of criteria based on size, based on the number of units, et cetera, like Mr. Cohilas mentioned. And included in that is an environmental report, which will assess, says environmental, but as well as traffic counts that exceed over a certain limit would be required, developments would be required to provide a traffic study. Traffic studies are done unbiasedly, and they would make recommendations of any requirements of intersections improvements, lane additions, et cetera, would be required to accommodate the proposed plan development. And there are density caps set for the plan development, et cetera.
Do we have any questions from council?
I think what everybody's scared of is on the arterial road part of it, is this development, they're talking 250 homes, so people, there's 125, right, and there'd be 250 homes there that people would be living in, and there's 250 homes, I think, in Cobblestone, and there's also 50 more homes supposed to be built right across the street from this, where this is gonna sell out, and like they're talking, this road is 16.5 feet wide. It was a PD, that's the only PD we have in the city at this time. If we had, if it was 10 acres or 20 acres, it would be an issue. But because of the fact that all people are seeing is the fact that there's 250 residential homes that's gonna be in there that people are gonna live in. And that's what scares everybody about this, about doing away with our arterial road. But if a traffic study will make that happen, and make them put what they have to put in there to fix that, or it's gonna be a mess.
Sure. And I just want to make a point of clarity. What staff, what we are looking at is this code revision for our ordinance. We're not addressing a particular project or development. We're looking at code for the city. There is existing 2 areas that are zoned currently PD in the city. One is developed already, and then another has a subdivision just to the south of it. Those are existing land uses. One has a portion of the property that's not developed, so it could be developed as a PD now that's not on the arterial. In reference to, I think, well, I'll just hold that because the case that you're referencing was postponed, and we'll address all those issues when it comes back.
You mentioned you want to take this one time that she's going to address, or do you want to go ahead and address
Yes.
it?
No, I think you ought to take them one at a time, and you'll entertain a motion whether or not the council wants to adopt it with the recommended.
I need a motion from the council.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion that we approve ordinance 483 with the recommendation that Ms. Wanda just presented to us.
I'll second.
Any discussion among council members? All in favor? Passes 6-0. Okay, you might as well stay put. Consideration and action on adoption of ordinance number 484, second reading, amending appendix A, zoning section 3.2 residential design standards to provide for coefficient front porch or stoop. That passed last time 5-1. Can you please address?
Yes, this, ordinance, 484 addresses specifically stoops and porches, and my only recommendation, would be on page 2, items 3 and 4. So, presently it reads, front porches shall be at least 8 feet in depth and extend at least 40% of the width of the front facade. So if you go back and remember what we talked about being enforceable and reasonable, that recommendation is to change it to say front porches shall be at least 8 feet in depth, and that's it. And then number 4 will say covered porches, whether enclosed or not, and stoops shall be considered as part of the building and shall not project into the required front, side, or rear setback. Just a point of clarity, setback is what we're referencing there. And those are the only 2 adjustments.
Thank you, ma'am. Again, I need a motion to approve ordinance number 484.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve ordinance number 484 with the recommendations of the planner.
Okay. Second. Any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
We've had a lot of community meetings, and when the staff has different pictures of the buildings in the city, and the one that's concerning me the most on this is the multi-family buildings with more than 8 units would not have a porch. And when they have the pictures of the different buildings, no one likes those, the tall, flat buildings that go along. None of our citizens did. The last one I went through, Rosa Main, they had something like that, and they had like 1 dot, where the ones with porches had like 50 to 70 dots. Can you explain that more of all?
I apologize, that, particular reference didn't jump out at me, though I wasn't at the meetings, the community outreach, so for me, in code, I have I'm kind of indifferent, or whether the council, the last reading, I guess it went through as it is right now. So I'm not making any recommendations for it to change. But if council wants to discuss it, make a change to it, but I apologize, I'm probably not helping you. I just wasn't at the discussion, and as far as the aesthetic, if a developer or a builder of the community wants to use multifamily with porches, that's obviously a certain amenity for that particular unit. But there are places where you have a more urban building type. I'm not an architect, but I think there's attractive alternatives that don't have porches per se for multifamily. But that's just my preference or understanding. Yeah. I think that, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think it's easier with, single family to talk about it and require it because it's more normal and it's more utilitarian. When you go in, you're covered, you have a place to stand. But for multifamily, a lot of the architecture varies just based on the concept and the brand.
Any more discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Just to kind of caveat or maybe clear it up, when a designer or a builder comes and want to propose such a project, it still has to come before the council to be reviewed and approved. But as far as that meeting that took place over in the depot where we chose the style homes that we like, they're gonna come back and represent that plan with those types of houses on it. So I think that for that project, I think that's gonna resolve that concern.
but they're not gonna come back with anything that doesn't have a porch on the front, because
Are
we
you
asked
referencing
for that.
Roseman?
Yes.
But if we pass this without it, they don't have that, we don't have to approve it. We don't get to approve it once this is passed, 'cause whatever's passed, people can
That's
do
right.
with their property.
Yes, ma'am.
So once we pass this, we don't get a second following.
That's right. You can always bring it back or make an amendment at another time, but at this reading, if you pass it and move forward, then it's coming in tomorrow with a plan. There would have to be a process, but, you know.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make an amendment to this, accept it how Mr. Brown said, but to just have a front porch or stoop is required and stop it there and take out the except for multi-family.
Do I have a second to our motion?
Second.
Who second? Henry? You second, Henry? Okay. Any more discussion?
Are you making that motion to include her recommendation?
Yes, and to include that, but to take that small section out.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor of this motion or amendment?
Will we not have to say what it is that we're saying it has to be, what size, or not have to be in this motion? Or if we want a porch on it, what do we want? Do we want it 6 feet deep, 4 feet wide, 4 feet deep?
Sure, I apologize if I wasn't clear. On item 3, the change would say front porches shall be at least 8 foot in depth, 8 feet in depth.
Right, are we saying that's what we want on these multi-family things, or we just wanting a smaller version?
No, you're correct, that would be a requirement in multifamily. It says in 1, it says a front porch or stoop is required. So, if it's a porch on the multifamily, then yes, the way that this is drafted, it would have to be 8 feet.
Mayor, if I may, just let me paint a visual.
Go ahead.
It says multifamilies with more than 8 units. So say you have a 10-unit multifamily building. You've got a porch or a stoop. And all 10 families want to occupy that porch. You got a problem? Or put their very beautiful patio furniture
I know,
on that
I'm
porch.
not a designer, I never claimed to be, but I'm telling you, the citizens here that came to all of our town meetings that I've been to when all this was planned, if it's a flat building, they don't like it, so I don't, y'all gotta tell me how to do it. You're the professionals, so if it's over 8 units, what does it mean? So our citizens are happy, because from what I've seen, and this was not just Rosa Main thing, 2 years ago, when all this booklet was made, I went to all those where they put the dots on, and citizens didn't like it, so I want to make sure whatever we approve, our citizens will like it.
I'd also like to interrupt this, if I may. When you think about multi-family dwellings, I think what you're envisioning, with all due respect, is a one-story multi-family, like townhouse. But multifamily can encompass 2-story or a 3-2 split. So this requirement of a porch, a front porch on the unit that's on the 2nd and 3rd floor, frankly, understandable, or would look quite odd. I mean, you're not gonna have a porch suspended, you'd be calling it a balcony, I guess. I just want you to understand that multifamily isn't restricted to 1 story. So
Right, that's what they were showing in these things, they had them 4 or 5 stories high.
And I think you bring up an excellent point. In our code right now, in our definitions, we don't define multifamily. So, perhaps what would be a remedy is to make, a more clear definition of what multifamily is, that it's more than 1 story in pertaining to, this requirement, not having this requirement. Sorry, confusing everybody.
Ms. Wiggins, make myself clear, Ms. Motion made a motion, and Councilman Burt second, we need to vote on
Yes,
that first.
we do have a motion on the floor with a second to approve the recommendations of Ms. Moore with the addition of, in section 1, take out except for multifamily buildings.
Any more discussion on, Ms. Bodie, will you state your motion again?
I make a motion to approve this with recommended changes and taking out, except for multifamily buildings with more than 8 units.
Councilman Burgess, still second that?
Yeah, but I think there needs to be more clarity on it as far as what these porches are gonna be. I don't think what I understand what she's thinking is not one porch, but a porch at each door. If there's doors and then you've got upstairs, you've got a breezeway where they go upstairs, you wouldn't have a porch there. But if that's what, I'm not sure, like there's some clarity there needs to be done before we try to vote.
I think you're talking single family like attached, where they're all in a row.
Right.
So if I withdraw my motion, can you look into the multifamily more, and then we can fix that later? Yeah, I'd like to withdraw my motion.
I need a motion to approve ordinance number 484. Everybody, yeah, remake it. Mayor Brown, go ahead, Mr. Brown.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a recommendation to approve ordinance number 484 with the recommended changes from the plan.
You seconding? Any more discussion? All in favor? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Henry, did you vote? Passes 5-1. Second reading. Okay, consideration and action on adoption number 485, second reading, amending appendix A, zoning article 3, general provision at section 3-17, landscaping requirements provide for co-efficiency, landscape requirement, and subsection E to be amended.
Okay, hopefully this will, be straightforward, but 45, the only, clarification on page 2 is that, paragraph below section 1, kind of towards the end of it, that basically the minimum required spacing of trees, and minimum required spacing of trees, and minimum required spacing of trees between trees and structures prepared by a registered landscape architect, rather than a certified arborist.
I need a motion to approve or deny.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve ordinance 485 with the, changes suggested by the city attorney.
I'll second it.
Okay. I had to Henry and Ms. I'll go with Henry and Lynn. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Passes 6-0. Second reading. Consideration and action on the adoption of ordinance number 486, second reading, amending appendix A, zoning article 7, mixed use district, at section 7-4-MU mixed use district to provide for coefficient. This is not yours, is that correct?
I had no,
Okay, no changes. I need a motion to approve or deny.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 486.
I'll second.
Okay, have a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Passes 6-0, second reading. Consideration and action on adoption of ordinance number 487, second reading, amending appendix A, zoning article 11, signs, at section 11-13, exemption of the code of the ordinance of the city of Hampton, Georgia, to provide coefficients. Is this one yours?
yes, sir. So on page 2, underneath, section 1, item A, number 4, state signs with an area of 2 square feet or less, they're exempt. The recommendation is to change that square footage to 3 square feet, which is, typical industry standard for real estate signs, et cetera. And then additionally, in number 5, where we address our, exempt seasons under, 5, where it starts to say, signs under this paragraph may be placed in the right of way provided that, and criteria on the placement. We say 5 feet from the edge of pavement or street with no curb, 5 feet from the outer edge of the curb or street with curb, or the recommendation is 1 foot from the outer edge of the sidewalk or street to the sidewalk. If it's 5 feet as it's written, that will put the, sign in someone's private property. Thank you, our great attorney, is catching that.
Well, no, I can't take credit for that, Mr. Burke.
Those are the only two changes for the sign.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion?
Mayor, I need to make a
Motion. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
to add on this for number 4, it's sign in the area, the limit is 4. Reason for the 4 is that, most of the sign is considered empty, illegal. Like the sale sign, for sale sign for the home, the 3 square feet would not fit in the area. So if we pass this right here, we get an add the zoning option to remove all sale signs, all those sale signs off this empty. So the best way to put it is 4 square feet, and that will take the need. Yeah.
Are you making that amendment to the?
Give me that one, and also change the current sign to the.
You've approved, first of all, I need a motion.
Then,
So you did it. Okay. I need a motion to approve or deny.
Will he repeat that?
Yeah, we didn't understand what he said.
Well, he wants to amend the motion, but I gotta have somebody to approve the motion first.
I think at this point, you're discussing his recommendation to change number 4 from, her recommendation is to go from 2 to 3.
Right.
He's recommending to go from 3 to 4. And it's just discussing his recommendation at this time. You can open the floor for a motion if you're done hearing the discussion. But I don't know if he's done, because he's going on to something else.
Yes.
We're going to discuss,
I'll repeat what I said earlier. I said, ordinance 487, section 8, number 4, six sign of the area of 2 square feet for that. I'd like to change it to 4. The reason for that is that, majority of the sales sign is empty and already legal. The sales sign, someone sells their home, someone, doing a yard sale, doesn't fit in the 3 square feet. So I recommend it to 4 to be safe and the safe side. And also number 5, I require to set to 6. Because we look at those, many of those same signs, physical signs are pretty much being 4 and 6. So I like to be to the safe side to make sure that's safe.
I'm sorry, you were looking at me, did you want me to respond?
I would like to ask Laren a question, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, Laren, with these changes, with these signs, all of us have campaigned before, we have signs that mine equals 3 square feet.
That are, Mike, you said less than 3?
Mine are 18 by 24, so mine are not, like, if I change this, do I have a financial gain if I run again and use my signs, or does anyone else that currently has signs?
This addresses not just campaign signs. Obviously, we do not talk about signs based on what they say. And so this is kind of a ancillary, it'll impact you, but not directly. It impacts anybody who has a stake sign in the city, whether it's a for sale sign or whether it says campaign, whether it says it's my birthday, whatever it says, it impacts everybody, so it doesn't just impact you specifically.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify before.
I mean, I like the safety in regards to, because even if you've got the 18 by 24, that's only 3 square foot, 4 feet still covers that, so you're not in violation. And then during, the ground stick size of that 4 square feet, signs are anywhere from 4 to 6 square feet, so 6 is fine with me.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
I'm not a mathematician, but 2 square feet is 2 feet by 2 feet, right?
No, that's about 1.
That's right.
So you want to go to 3 square feet, but so it's gonna be what?
18 inches for the nominal sale sign. However,
But we also have a section for camping signs.
We do not.
it's a season exempt, so the state sign that we're referencing is exempt from permitting. And then the season of exemption for, a period of time that begins as enumerated in our code and ends at the election, that sign has a different size.
That's right. So if you go with what is being recommended by Mr. Mitchell, any time of the year, January through December, any year, right, whether it's a permit season exemption period or not, if it's under 4 feet, you never have to get a permit. Right? But, again, if you're going with the recommendation by Mr. Mitchell, during the permit exempt season, you don't have to get a permit if it's up to 6 square feet. So you get to put up a larger state sign, we don't care what it says, during a particular time of the year.
Go ahead, Henry.
I'm really hoping that we don't put up 6 square feet signs all over the city. That's huge. Most all your real estate signs, campaign signs, all of them are 18 by 24. They're standard size signs. If you go any bigger than that, I mean, you won't ever see anything besides when they start putting these things out. So what I see is 3 and 3 on both of them. That's it. It's the same.
Right?
The reason why I put this is, I was driving around the city of Hampton, and it's not 3 by 3. It's pretty much up to 5 and a half, 5 to 6. I've seen it myself, so I measure myself, so I know.
I didn't hear the first part of that.
I said, I've gone to the statement, was 3 by 3. I go on the city of Hampton, and I check all signs to see all the still signs and also the existing signs as well. And it's way past 3 by 3, some is 6 and some is 5.
Go ahead, Ms. Ann.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve, ordinance number 487 with the recommendations of, having 4 square feet on line item number 4 and 6 square feet on line item number 5.
Do I have a second? Second. Okay, any discussion?
I'm sorry, I don't know if it's property, but we didn't address the, ones that off the sidewalk.
Oh, I'm sorry, so let me, with the inclusion of the 1 foot off the sidewalk line item I under 5.
Okay. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. All opposed? 1, 2. Passes 4-2 on second reading. Thank you. Consideration and action of adoption of number 488, second reading, amending appendix A, zoning section 3-18, tree protection and planting prohibitions. Last council meeting passed 6-0. I need a motion to approve or deny.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion that we approve ordinance 488 on the second reading.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Passes 6-0. Consideration and action of adoption of ordinance number 489, second reading, amending appendix A, zoning article 2, definition of code of ordinances of the city of Hampton, Georgia subdivision. I need a motion to approve or deny.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion that we approve ordinance number 489.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Passes 0. Second reading. Consideration and action on adoption of ordinance number 490, second reading, amending appendix B, subdivision, article 2, interpretation, and section 2.2, definition of the city code of ordinance of the city of Hampton, Georgia. I need a motion to approve or deny. Second reading.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve ordinance 490, second reading.
Okay.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Passes 6-0, second reading. Consideration and action on adoption of ordinance number 491, second reading, amending Appendix C, Stormwater, Article 2, Post-Development, Stormwater Management, and Section 2.2, Definition Subdivision of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Hampton, Georgia. Passed 6-0 last time on first reading. I need a motion to approve or deny.
Mayor, and council made a motion for approval for ordinance 491.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Passes 6-0 on second reading. Consideration and action on approval of resolution 2019-14, adopting the 2019 to 2023 capital improvement element update.
Mayor,
Passed last time 6-0.
Mayor, make a motion to approve ordinance, resolution 2019-14.
Do I have a second? Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Passes 6-0. Consideration and action on adopting ordinance number 492, second reading, amending chapter 54, offense in the listed provision, article 3, a nuisance, section 54-61, acting constituting a nuisance. Is this yours, Derek?
Yes, Mayor, this is the one where we're changing the grass size to, high.
Okay.
To have actual limit on the grass size.
Okay, thank you, sir. And last time it passed 6-0, I need a motion to approve or deny.
May I make a motion to approve 492?
Okay. Second. Any more discussion? All in favor? It passed 6-0. Under new business, consideration and action of ordinance number 495, first reading, adoption of the FY 2020 budget.
May I make a motion to approve?
First of all, I think it's important due to the fact that many present tonight were not here at the work session that we had, where a lot of the detail sheets were explained to you, and that's been evidence that by some of the questions that have been posed during public comment, that it was clear to them because all those things were explained in pretty explicit detail in the presentation. But for those that weren't there, I would like to present to you the 2020 budget with some amendments or revisions that were based on feedback. That was the whole purpose of having the work session. I would like to thank each and every one of you. Mayor Hutchinson, you provided some feedback on the issue about Meals on Wheels. So did Mr. Byrd on that issue. Both Ms. Bodie and Ms. Tarpley caught my error where dealing with the, I had left out the $30,000 for the twice-a-year cleanup. It was my error because I thought it was included in our sanitation contract, which you had in the sanitation breakout at $385, and when we ran a budget test on it, we realized that I had left it out, so there's no one to blame but me. But thank goodness for extra sets of eyes, and that's why you build a team, so everybody's looking at it in our effort to try and get it right. So I appreciate your feedback. Mr. Mitchell and Mr. Turner also provided some feedback, and of course, so did Mr. Brown. So I tried to take all of your collective feedback and address it, but I also, I want to go through tonight. You have before you, you have your budget books, which were given to you on September 27th at the work session. We took your feedback. We made some revisions. We also fielded some public comment. We got a ton of, not a ton, but we got some questions from some concerned citizens that were unclear on certain issues, and we clarified them during the week. I have made some revisions. This budget is virtually the same, but there's been some clarity and some detail sheets that's been added. I want to start off by going through the
On page 4, you see my transmittal letter. But it's important, there's been a couple changes to it in that on page 5, I added some more detail as to, and lined it up as to the revenue sources. But it's important that I feel it's important to kind of set the stage right for some things that in a moment of hyperbole, and maybe they don't clearly state what the facts are. This budget wasn't designed to point a finger. It is simply stating what we find now, presently. I can't unearth the history of this city. It's more than 100 years old. Times change, practices evolve. This budget was designed to put us on our best step forward to come into the modern era. That's what it is designed for. So I want to go down and just hit some of the highlights within the transmittal letter. First and foremost, when you hired me on May 6, 2019, it was obvious that this city had suffered from a decade and a half of turnover at the highest level of administration. Additionally, prior to November of 2018, this city had never employed a finance director, despite growing complexities in banking regulations, municipal auditing requirements, and the need to develop a long-term financial strategy for the city rather than relying on crisis management. So as a result, it took a lot of time and effort to go through past record-keeping practices in order to bring the process of establishing proper accounting and record-keeping policies and procedures, which we have prior to this year not had. Consequently, there was a delay in completing the audit of the 2018 financial records. You'll remember that we're supposed to get our books audited and completed by March of 2018. Due to past problems, that audit wasn't completed till August. We were able to get this up and running despite the problems of the past. I think that the former finance director, Ms. Shaw, did a tremendous job given the problems that she inherited. She came here in November. A budget had not been established. She deserves our credit and appreciation, which we expressed quite a bit to her while she was here. She inherited a difficult task, did her best to overcome. That being said, if you go to the rest of the transmittal letter is virtually the same. It is important, though, that I hit some of the high points. This 2020 budget is designed to put our city, bring us in compliance with best practices for governmental accounting, pursuant to the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, GASB. Furthermore, it will serve as an invaluable tool for me and the council and the mayor to be able to get accurate real-time data in order to make informed decisions. We highlighted the past budgets never reconciled with your audits, and you were not able to get accurate month-to-month financials that could tell you whether or not you were trending upward or downward as far as revenue collection. I know how difficult this can be when we all went through when I was in Clayton County, we went through the economic downturn, and we had a sharp downturn in building permits and growth, and we had counted on revenue in that particular sector. It led to us having to shrink our budget in real time, and we frankly took immediate action, which we didn't fill positions that had been funded in the budget. We had to shrink it because our revenues were down, but that's because we had a process and a budget that reconciled with your audit, and we had the ability to get month-to-month records. Frankly, this council has only been able to know what the real financial position has been at the end of the year when you got an audit. That's the reality. Prior to this, we're trying to change that so I can be able to have accurate month-to-month data so I can give you, and if we have to shrink the budget, if we have to leave positions unfilled, we can do it, or if we have to delay projects, we can. We can rise and fall with the tide and adjust rather than face calamity. That's what this budget is designed to do. Highlights are on page 7, and for the public, all these updates have been posted today. They've been on the website. They're there available. 99% of all the stuff is already there. My transmittal letter highlighted that we have $6 million in outstanding utility debt that will mature in 2018.
Our annual payments have been approximately $753,000 per year. We do have 2 certificates of deposit totaling a little over $2 million that are generating less than 0.5% in interest. The current money market, the current interest rate for short-term investment of government funds is 2.2%. We will be making a recommendation once you adopt this budget that we close those certificates of deposit and move them into a better interest-bearing account, because we have missed the opportunity. We're only earning a little less than $11,000 in interest, where we could be earning more than $47,000 a year in interest on that, on those 2 accounts, those money market accounts. Furthermore, it's also important to note that the city presently has an additional $5.2 million in general fund reserves that are not drawing any interest at all. We are going to recommend that we also invest those funds in money markets, as Mr. Wall explained to you in detail. When it's in a money market fund, it's cash, you call it, you need it, you get out what you need. But in the meantime, instead of your money sitting there dead in the bank, not doing you any good, it's earning money. We could have, at the present market rate at 2.2, we could be earning an additional $114,000+ annually. We will certainly be recommending that change. As I said earlier, past budgets did not match our operating accounts, therefore your annual audits did not reconcile to those particular budgets. That's a fact. We will now be able to change and have the accurate financial data so that all our financial affairs will be in order. It will allow us to be able to proactively plan for the future. Highlights of the budget. If you can go to the slide, Chief, you can put up the highlight slide. I want to kind of go over these on a higher level. It's you can still find it on page 7 within the transmittal letter, but I prepared a highlight slide so that I could so that the public can see what they couldn't read and find print in the transmittal letter. First and foremost, we are calling for an abolition of the sewer debt that goes out on everybody's monthly bill. That will save the citizens $450,000 annually. We have the ability to do so and be able to continue making our bond payments. We are calling for the following new positions. Some of these positions have been approved, were already in the budget, but weren't funded. I'm calling for the filling of the community development director position that was approved in last year's budget. I came with a part-time when, if you recall, the former community development director resigned on the Friday before I started, and that position has been unfilled. As a stopgap measure, I came before you a few months ago and asked you to approve a part-time planner position. That allowed us to hire Ms. Moore. She has more than proven herself, and I'm going to recommend that we eliminate the part-time planner position, or not fund the part-time planner position in the 2020 budget, but fill a previously approved position of community development director. That position was previously filled at $90,000. We're recommending a start rate at $825. Next, we're adding 2 electrical lineman positions. This is, I've heard from many in the community, and I certainly relied on Mr. Spraggins and his staff. This is a very vital addition to the budget. We have a shortage of electrical linemen. We want to address it. This budget is also calling for 1 wastewater class 3 position. We're also asking to fill what was a position that was has been on the books for several years, that I think when the gentleman retired, it wasn't filled anymore, and the wastewater plant duties were put under the command and control of Mr. Spraggins.
we're calling for a filling of the wastewater class 1 position. The next, we're asking, this was a request that Ms. Shaw had pointed out to me, that we wanted to have an accountant position. Everything that she predicted has been true. Mr. Wall recommends it. The CPA that we hired to help us close out this year's books recommends it. The ladies back there have done a tremendous job based on what they've been taught, but none of them have accounting experience. And if we're going to collapse these accounts, which we need to, we don't need to operate with 22 bank accounts, as been discussed enough tonight. We need to have an accountant there to assist the finance director, so we're calling for that. We're calling for a filling of the finance director position. This budget is not funding the economic development director's position, and we're frankly moving Main Street activities. The Main Street coordinator is going to be working closely with the downtown businesses to help with economic growth and business retention in the downtown business district, and I'm calling for a reorganization, which you saw on the previous budget book, moving Street under community development. We're also calling for the reclass of an administrative position to assist with procurement, make sure that we follow procurement practices, which you saw evidence of the benefit therefrom when we put some of these projects back out to bid. You saw how much cheaper we were able to get our phone services bid on. So we need to, I want to reclass that position so that that position can assist with procurement, make sure we need a lot of contracts, a lot of business that we have done around here. We have done it without going ahead. It's time we've had annual contracts that haven't been put out to bid for a number of years. I spent the last five months analyzing a lot of this. I've asked them questions like, we ought to have an annual contract for pest control. We ought to have an annual contract that's bid out for HVAC maintenance work. Those sorts of things that need to go on annual contracts where we have people and you put it out every 2 or 3 years for bid. That keeps everybody honest and keeps the world competitive and get the best services for the cheapest price. Next, as far as our revisions are concerned, I want to kind of go through that. I already accounted for the $30,000 for 2 seasonal cleanup days. We also, I want to point, you're going to find some, if you go through it with a fine-tooth comb, you're going to see some adjustments to the pension contribution. We solicited the actuarial report to make sure that we weren't underpaying, and we were adjusted up to make sure, because what was budgeted didn't appear it was going to be enough, and we did not want to under-contribute to the pension contribution to our employees this year and then have to double up, next year. So we made that adjustment. If you go through your new books, you will see, because there were some questions that came up, even in public comment. These things were discussed and were given to you. I left out some of the detail sheets when we went to print last time. If you remember, I came up and handed them to you during the meeting. If you will go to, in your new book, what now appears on page, well, before I get to that, I want to, for the public, I would like for them to know that this budget, there was a lot of, we found a couple of typographical errors Mr. Mitchell pointed out, and then Mr. Lowe brought out in his question tonight, like $1,000 for overtime in the department. That was an accounting error that was caught. We'd already caught it in our prior meeting. Mr. Mitchell had pointed out, same thing with the overtime, so we corrected those Scrivener's errors and brought them into balance. But I would like to point the public to, and you to page 14, shows a new organization chart. But what I'm most proud of is when you pick up with page 15 on, there's explanations about fund structure, funds descriptions, financial policies and procedures, including cash management policies, These are all things that previously never existed. And we're bringing this city into the modern age and following proper professional procedures. And we will be submitting this budget for certification. Mr. Wall, if you want to take a minute and explain the value of having this budget certified as it pertains to the credit rating of the city.
All y'all familiar, when you go to the grocery store and you buy beef, you look for that USDA stamp. The budgets have a stamp, and there's a thing called the Government Finance Officers Association, GFOA. All y'all go to GMA or this NACO, the National League of Cities. When GFOA was created by finance directors years ago, and they came up with a chart of accounts and a standardized thing that a budget and an audit ought to have to get. And each year, if a city or a county or school board submits their budget or audit, and they get a GFOA certificate, it's like that USDA stamp. So that anytime, anybody, insurance company provider, a credit rating provider, if they see you got that stamp, they know that this budget or the audit report looks just like all the others across the nation, and they'll give you a higher credit rating or lower insurance premium. So it's worthwhile to get.
As you continue on from page 20 on, you'll see a host of other financial reporting requirements, equity policies, budget policies. All these things haven't existed before. We're proud to present them to you with this budget, and when you adopt this budget, you'll also be adopting these policies, and we'll be able to implement them in day-to-day operations. As I said earlier, based on some of the feedback we got, we came back and added, if you go in your new book, page 27, is a breakdown sheet. All the stuff that you see here that I've added, this is nothing new. This is all in your summary sheet. But to the extent that some folks couldn't find it, or didn't know where to look because it was formatted in a different way than it's ever been done before, we wanted to add clarity because we have been bent on being completely transparent and exposing everything the way we do business. And we're going to continue to do that. To that extent, add more transparency and clarity. We added the detail sheet for those that couldn't find it before or understand it. You have page 27 was the mayor's detail sheet. On page 28, we added the council's detail sheet. I also want to point out is for the public that some of the 2019 and you have 4 columns. When you pick up with page 28 going forward, you'll see 4 columns. That's the 2018 actuals, the 2019 budgeted numbers, and the projected 2019 budget numbers. The truth of the matter, the only numbers that we could actually rely on was what were the 2018 actuals. Because given the problems that this city had coming in, you had a finance director that came in November. The day after she was hired, the city manager was fired. She had to go through records that were left by a clerk who had gone just prior to her. There was no way for her to whip out an accurate, 100% accurate budget by herself in the few weeks that she had to get that 20. So we found a lot of things, and also there were, from accounting practice, she was following the former methodology. That does not criticize her. That was just the old standard of doing things. So some of the things that appeared in another column, we have now put it in the proper column, in the proper department to match up with the proper fund, proper revenue stream, so that this budget will reconcile with your audit. I want to just keep emphasizing it. So just because it appears in a different place than it used to doesn't make it wrong. Frankly, it makes it better. That's it, okay? So if you go on to, I want to go next to youth council because the question came up for it before. We put a page in there. Now on page 32, you'll see, oh, it looks like it's not being funded. If you read the asterisk in the blue section, it's being accounted for under the administration fund, $10,000. Now, a question raised, you guys had a youth council last year, and a question came up about how the money should be spent, how it should go. I think that it is appropriate that we set guidelines about the travel requirements. Do the same thing that you would with any other policy. Before any money gets expended, I I think that if it's your desire to go forward with the youth council, that you set up, an informal board of directors, they work with the city manager. I'm not gonna allow any money to be expended until we have some structure around it. But we've allowed for the funding of it should you desire. Next, if you go to page 33, elections. Elections was in your old book. It was frankly on page 11 under general fund anticipated expenditures. It's not listed under the city clerk, and it's not going to be listed under the city clerk this time, because we operate elections with through an IGA with Henry County. They do the bulk of the work, and so it's felt it is proper that it be left under administration, and it won't be listed under the city clerks, but it's in there. There's a detail sheet, 8,500. It appeared on page 11 in your old book under general fund budget. It appears same again on page 11 in this new book under general fund budget summary. But just to add clarity as to how the 8,500 will be spent, we added page 33 so you can see that you have advertising, poll workers, and office supplies that help to offset our costs, or what we're anticipating as far as a cost share. On page 34, there was a question about legal services. So we put this was a detail sheet that I gave you before at the work session. You can see that we have professional services for an auditor, professional services. The one addition I want you on page 34. Look at professional services auditor. When you look at the column, it's going to show, oh, wait a minute, did we miss something? We didn't put anything for the FY20. But we have that covered on page 36, in detail on page 36, and that's covered and it's listed under contractual services. When we reprinted this book, that's where we moved that for the professional services auditor. But back to page 34, you'll see professional services legal, and as was highlighted earlier, that also includes for the solicitor. We also added $2,000 to this line item for ethics and for the ethics board legal services in case they're needed. We try to cover every base possible. Page 35 in your new book is the further detail sheet that I handed out to you at your work session. Administration. Page 36, I alluded to, is where the contractual services, that will include for your financial auditor and your financial advisor and other professional services. That's a bulk line item. I don't know how high that will go, but that's why you see it jumping from 40 to 80 is because we moved the 40,000 that was previously there for the auditor. We moved it to that line item. So if you question why it went up, it was simply located elsewhere. We relocated it here. As I highlighted earlier, we are calling for the development of an IT technology department. I want to turn your attention now to page 41, and this needs to, so when you, I want you to understand, we had a Scribner's error here. We left out somehow, we caught it today after the book was printed. It got kicked off this spreadsheet, don't know why. We have to add back $50,000 going to the DDA. If you go to 41 under Main Street Economic Development, on the September 27 booklet, we called for, and I highlighted that out, that $50,000 to go to the bank that will pay for legal services and financial services, so that if you have a bond deal that comes through, or if you have something that's for economic development, you'll have the ability to do that, and also to help, frankly, help the DDA get in compliance and produce a budget. I also highlighted at your work session, or excuse me, you developed a budget this time that helped tighten up your financial records so that we can get regular reporting from the DDA over here.
And Mr. City Manager, before
Sure.
this money's spent, you get an IGA with.
That's, thank you. You're absolutely correct. Before we would send this money over there, though, it's going to require that we get an IGA drafted by the city attorney, adopted by the DEA, and that IGA will call for the strict accounting of the funds and oversight of the budget. You have to, or demand budget reporting on a regular basis to this council so that it becomes clear and transparent what the actions of the DDA are. If you go to page 54, despite our best effort, we thought we had it all cleared up, and I'll be doggone if we didn't make another Scrivener's error, and we'll clean it up. So I'm going to make these recommendations. When I point out the $50,000 to the DDA, I want that to be considered in whatever motion you make on as regards to the first read. I also recommend that you include, if page 54, we originally thought, as I said earlier, that the $30,000 for the cleanup was included in line item 520.4500, the top line, the sanitation contract. We were wrong, and so moved the 30 down to the very bottom line that you see there. We upped what was previously 25,000 to 55, and then we realized that we need to add back 30. Instead of you having 355 in your book for sanitation contract, we ran another price check to see where we're at. We need that to be amended back up to 385, not 355. We've accounted for it in the general summary sheet, but we didn't correct it here. Okay? Those are the highlights. I want to say this, I'm very proud of the efforts of the staff. Ms. Fairley has worked some long hours, along with Ms. Atwater, the CPA that we hired, Mr. Wall, and frankly, our new soon-to-be financial director, Mr. Forsythe. We were here as late as 9:45 last night. We have done our best to present to you a professional, balanced budget that is transparent, that addresses the most critical needs that this city has. The number one thing that I heard ever since I came here was, please get us some relief on the sewer debt that appears on everybody's utility bill. I made a promise to you, and you voiced it. So I'm not, I wasn't clairvoyant here. You've heard the complaints more than I have, and we made that priority one. With Mr. Wall's expert help, we were able to find a way to do it.
Mr. City Manager?
Go ahead.
So there's a couple things that in your presentation you left out. If I could,
Sure.
ask you to talk to the mayor and council about pages 61 and 62. There's a lot of discussion about that tonight. And that's all about your transparency, how much money the city has, and the fact that this budget doesn't use any of the reserves.
If you go to 61, you will see the present bank accounts. This is where what we have cash on hand. Those enumerate the 22 accounts that have been discussed earlier. It lists the interest rates. It shows where the bank is. And we have utilized this to maximize these budgets, maximize these funds to balance this budget without drawing any of your reserves. None of it. Okay? It appears that in times past, a lot of your stuff was being funded all out of general fund. You didn't operate, didn't pay enough of your stuff out of your enterprise fund. and so you drained it. And I know, that Mr. Wall and I pulled up a newspaper article in which there was a lot of public angst over last year that there was a drawdown of reserve, I believe, 1.2 million. That's not being done. We're using funds the way they properly ought to be used. If you would talk about how much will be left in the enterprise fund, what the projected profit out of the enterprise fund will be after this.
Yes, sir, if I could, everybody look at page 62. And at the top of the page shows the SPOS fund balance of 3.5 million. And then at the bottom of the page, all the various impact fees and tap fees that you have totaling 1.4 million. And so all those are like in different bank accounts, but historically, you all had left that money there, maybe sometimes spent general fund monies, and it made it appear that you were spending reserves. And so what this budget does is you have three capital funds. You got the SPLOST fund, the capital grant fund, and then a capital projects fund. And you see, for the first time, you're transferring all your impact fees over to the capital projects fund, and you have a exhaustive capital projects list here in this budget. And all that's being funded either with SPLOST dollars or these impact fee dollars. And on page 61, I'll be working with the new city finance staff and with the city manager. We're going to collapse a bunch of those funds in 61 to one account, and that'll save you some fees that the bank charge, per account, and you'll be able to put all of that to earn an interest. And so I heard the mayor and others say, you do have to have separate accounts. You can't have just one, but we're going to have fewer than 22. And if we could, everybody's attention to page 11. Page 11 is your 35,000 foot budget for the general fund. And page 12 is the 35,000 foot for the enterprise fund. And remember, I told you earlier that Coca-Cola has just one checking account. Revenue and expenses all go into it. All of us have one checking account. But cities are different. You have all these various funds, and you aren't supposed to commingle and mix and stuff. And so you all are going to have a budget that Mr. Cohilas is going to get the finance staff to update monthly with what's spent each month, and then a year-to-date running total to compare against these figures. And your budget next year is going to be a lot better than this budget. This is the best we could do based on the information we had at hand. If you look at page 11, you see the total anticipated revenues on the far right-hand column of FY 2020 is 4.1 million. Look above it, and it says 173,000 is being transferred from the enterprise fund, and then 3.9 million are all the revenues from the general fund. And then down at the bottom, you see the total expenditures of 4.1 million. You all have a very profitable electric system. I represent a lot of cities that are members of the Municipal Electric Authority of Georgia. That's where they buy their wholesale electricity and resell it. You're unique in that you buy yours from an EMC, but most governments, most cities that have their own utility system have lower property tax rates than people that don't. You're lucky you don't have any at all. And you all are using 173,000 of the profit made from your profitable water, sewer, and electric system in order to balance the budget for the general. If you look in 2018, the last audit year, it shows you used 129,000 that year. We don't really have a clue just yet what the 2019 is going to be. We're having trouble, closing out all the books and records. 173,000 is less than the total profit. You would turn to page 12. Page 12 is the enterprise fund. If I could call your attention to the middle of the page, and it says transfer to the general fund. You can see it, and then the enterprise fund surplus is 341,000. So there's still 341,000 of net profit from the enterprise fund that will just go into your cash reserves. Then at the very bottom of the page, you have a sewer debt relief account. That sewer surcharge is built up 1.05 million in a special account. We're going to use that to make the debt service for this year and then eliminate the sewer surcharge. If you look up at page 13, let me see, if I can get you to the enterprise fund, the detailed account. page 12, wastewater for FY 18 was $1,513,000, and you can see in FY 20 it's $1,021,000. So the difference in those numbers is that $400,000 that you're eliminating. Is that it, boss?
I got a couple more things that came to my attention. If you go to page 47, I'd like for you to look at 47, 48, and 49. Chief, if you could put those up. I decided to go back and ask Ms. Fairley to highlight the completed project. So this will give a good visual as we post and the citizens expect that as we complete a project, we're going to change the color, okay, show it as complete. What's important about these capital projects, when we developed the list, we wanted to address a lot of the needs that were expressed to us by the public. I know we got a lot of questions about needing to handle repairs at the park. Mr. Brown is very diligent in keeping me abreast he gives me a pictorial account, as does Mr. Mitchell, of needed repairs and upgrades to McBrayer Park. There's been discussion about the skate park, but we had a young man gave a very professional presentation, I think, in May. I think the very first meeting I attended, and called for the need to make repairs to the skate park. He was pretty excited, sent me an email over the weekend, said he loved the budget, saw that we were addressing the skate park, and wanted to know if he could help be part of the solution. And I said, absolutely. I love being surrounded by positive people, and instead of those that just throw bricks and offer no solutions. I'd love to hear that. So he's going to be invited, and the other end users, when we draw up a scope of work for those that put out for bid, I think it makes sense to allow your end users to draw the scope of work. I know when I was fire chief and we spec'd out fire trucks, there was no need for the fire chief to do all the spec'ing. I needed the people that drove the fire trucks to write the specs for the fire trucks. So that's what we're going to do. When you go to page 47, 48, 49, you'll also see we're showing you where the funding source is going to come from. And the last column gives you the status of where it is. We're also going to be adding project numbers in the left-hand column. I heard a comment in public comment, a question was raised about construct the amphitheater. I want to draw your attention to page 49 where construct amphitheaters there. That's hardly anything to worry about because frankly, you see a TBD there. This means to be determined. There is no funding source, and there's frankly no need for any public concern over it because just because it was an idea that someone put forth doesn't mean that there's a funding source, and there's not one there, so frankly, there's no way, I don't have an answer. I know that y'all may have put this forward in the past, but we're going to have to identify a funding source in the future. Right now, we're tapped out. The money's accounted for. Mr. Wall, one thing we did cover, if you go back to the SPLOST revenues on page 60 and 61, I wanted to point out that only shows what we have cash on hand, and it I don't believe it addresses what's left to be collected between now and from August. That was based on August. That did not include September through March of 2020 revenues to be collected. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. So the SPLOST budget accounts for 7 or 8 more checks SPLOST going through March of 2020, March of next year. So you have the balance plus 7 more checks, and that's in your budget for your SPLOST fund. And then, of course, in November, you have the new vote on the new SPLOST. And none of that's been accounted for.
So that's more money that we'll be able to follow.
And so if you would, turn to page 56. Page 56 shows the beginning cash balance in the SPLOST fund of $3,529,000. That tracks from page 62. And the intergovernmental revenue at $1,281,000. That's revenues that we'll receive from SPLOST 4 between now and March.
But it wasn't accounted on the cash on hand at the moment, so that's what you can project that we'll get. I think comes to about $181,000 per month.
Yes.
That's what we've been getting from King County. And I do want to point out, there's been discussion about the 22 accounts. One of the 22 accounts was there for a very good reason. It's set up at Regions Bank. Henry County sends that money to Regions Bank. It gets swept out and then comes to our account. That's to help increase cybersecurity. If someone were to hack and corrupt into the county's system, which they did. I'm not, Stacy suffered the pain. They went through 2 or 3 months where they couldn't even email. I think you were sending messages by carrier pigeon. But that's why that was there. So that is one account that it was absolute legitimacy to hack. Okay, that was a security measure, and I applaud Ms. I applied, actually was there before, so I applaud whoever set it up in the past, and applaud the council for taking that appropriate measure. That's what I have. Come before you, and we think we presented you a great budget. I hope we've addressed all your needs and concerns. And next year will not be anywhere near as painful. We now have a template of excellence to follow each and every year.
Don't eat it.
Can I get a bottle of water? One second.
We were talking about money that we have in bank donation of very small time. When it's time to deposit this money in the bank, can we make them compete against other banks? I've served on the school board for 6 years, and we didn't care whether the bank was next door or whatever. When it came time for those deposits, we made the bank compete for the deposit, not just automatic totals. And then we got more money on our money by making them compete. Then they just identify one bank, we're gonna put it here and that's it. When you make them deposit, they can compete for the deposit that you get from the state.
Mr. Waller, you want to handle that?
Yes, sir. So, the state of Georgia local government investment pool is, about 11 billion. The state office of treasury buys U.S. Treasury, and that's the money market account, so that's our bogey. But right now, it's 2.2%. And so what I was thinking about doing is once we consolidate whatever the accounts are, and you all agree to it, we put, because banks local here, they put money here, they employ people here, we tell all the banks, here's the rate we got, what are you willing to give? And do put it out to bid so that we keep it local if it's possible.
If possible.
I mean, it's y'all's decision.
Yeah, but the interest rate will tell them what to put it.
If that's y'all's decision. I've seen it, but that ain't the case.
Yeah, but I think you're saying in essence the same thing Mr. Turner's suggesting is, put it out local but make them compete. And you're adding the caveat of local, but we're trying to do it. Also, I know that we would put bids out in Clayton County for financial services so that they can offer us lower rates on their transaction fees and that sort of thing. My father used to tell me when I was a young man, if you count the pennies and the dimes, you'll know where the dollars go. So if we start saving pennies and dimes, maybe we'll have more dollars. So I agree with you. I think that's a good suggestion, and I thank you for it. We'll be sure to follow through.
Okay, I'm so sorry I'm digging in the budget again. Is it, Lauren, is it okay if I make a change on it without those words?
This is, the first read not to be adopted, and you can make a motion to approve the first read with any changes you like. So it's not adopted tonight, just the first read.
So I can make change right now. On page 57, and page city manager budget, on page 29.
Do 57 first.
57. I see here public safety vehicles for 300,000. Is that correct?
So you
You
said
said 57 or 30?
57 first.
57?
Yeah.
Ask the question again, please.
Page 57.
Yes, I got
I
it.
see, public safety vehicles for 300,000.
Yes, sir.
And also, please hold on to page 29 as well. city manager.
Okay, hold on a minute.
So combine together,
So page 29 is public safety vehicles,
57.
300,000, is that what you said? That's right, that's, 5 vehicles at 55,000 each, I think, isn't that right, Chief?
Yeah.
So that's all police cars,
Yeah, but that includes, you know, radio and lights and.
all the equipment.
fully equipped.
That's equipment too, so that, yeah, that's why the number's at 55.
And page 29 says 6,000 for a car allowance, is that correct?
Yes, now, your contract, with me called for me to be provided a vehicle. As you pointed out earlier, the 20-something-year-old car that is ready to be green sheeted. I've been using my personal vehicle for the last 5 months. I have been given a gas card. I appreciate the gas card, but I've been putting on a lot of miles, especially going to Macon and back on my vehicle. So I offered, you know, an option. So I put in the budget $500 a month for a car allowance. You, Mr. Mitchell, you brought up, there's been 2 or 3 options that were offered back to me, either up a car allowance or purchase a car. Your recommendation has been to purchase a car. I'm open to that. I think, you know, when I talked to my accountant, it certainly would be better on my taxes if I didn't, if I got a city car as opposed to getting an added car allowance, because frankly, all it's gonna do is make me pay more money to Uncle Sam, which, you know, isn't gonna address it. But I would caution you, we couldn't, we can't draw it out of this account because that's SPLOST 4 money, it's highly restricted, it's for public safety. We can find the money somewhere else if that's where you're going.
Mr. Mitchell, $500 a month is cheaper than if we bought a car and insured it. So that's why I agreed to.
It's cheaper, but if you look at the way of safety for the city manager, if you drive his own car in an accident, who's liable?
But his insurance, but his insurance will pay for his car, his fixed, wouldn't it?
Well, it depends on if he at fault, all of that is gonna depend, but if he's on city business, the city is liable for any personal injury. Most of the time, that kind of thing.
And it costs city more money than before.
But if he's not at fault, the other driver will be responsible for a lot of it.
We don't know that, so I suggest we recommend getting the car.
So that don't change though, with the car.
Hang on, one person at a time, please. Mr. Turner, go ahead.
Wouldn't it be more feasible to add, give him a car into the cars that they're expecting, where it be cheaper? Wouldn't it be able to negotiate a cheaper price if you bought them in bulk altogether?
Maximizing purchase power is one thing. I'm just saying, I could not purchase that vehicle for administration. I could buy off a state contract at the same time, but I couldn't use SPLOST funds to buy an admin car. That's what I'm saying. We could take it out of the enterprise when there's still an operating profit out of that. We can find somewhere else in the budget to do it. First of all, we have $6,000 to put towards it, as opposed to using the car allowance. Is all I'm saying. You're right as far as maximizing buying power. You can buy you can buy off a state contract, the same state contract that police vehicles are purchased with, and you can negotiate a better price that way. But I wouldn't be able to use SPLOST funds. That's all I'm saying.
So, for passage, but can you come back to the council next meeting, provide us, a way to purchase the vehicle for you?
Okay, be happy to do that. If
I
that's,
have those quotes back today that you requested.
we'll bring you back to the next meeting.
Hold on, I got a question. That means Derek still gets cheaper to buy a car.
Well, you know, it's, what I'm saying is that, if it requires for Derek to give a car up, it'll be fine.
No, I mean, it ain't coming from his point.
Okay, let us work out the details.
Okay, so, y'all done? So, my question is this, you wanted 2 more amendments with this recommendation. You wanted to add the 50,000 CDA and 30,000 for sanitation.
Correct, because what we did was we moved 30,000 out, and I just need to correct that. You're absolutely correct. That's specifically what I'm asking. And then the only unfinished business would be the issue about the purchase of a vehicle as opposed to a car allowance, and you can clean that. Madam Attorney, would it be okay if they clean that up at the next meeting, make that final decision there?
That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yes,
Oh, Henry, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
I was looking on the well number 9, I didn't see any money for the completion of that well, as far as putting the building, is that in there somewhere?
That's,
I'll find it for you, Bush.
On the SPOS
please
board,
do.
it doesn't have any.
I got about 3,000 items running in my head, so Ed's gonna help me out here a minute.
Because it'll probably gonna cost us about $250,000 to finish that well.
I thought we put in 300,000. I think we put in, I'm gonna tell you, we talked about several things about the well. First of all, so the public understands. And you've been good, you've asked a lot of good questions about it. The environmental study's been done. The feasibility study has been completed. The engineers say that they believe that well will produce 159 gallons per hour. Okay? So it's viable. You know, when you say well number 9, I don't know that the public knows that, like, wells 1 through 5 have gone dry over the years. And the purpose for us putting in well 9, which was thought of before I got here, and you guys were being forward thinking and doing that, the more water we produce ourselves, the less dependency we have on the Henry County Water Authority.
If y'all want to look at page 60,
Go ahead.
it's called the Capital Outlay Fund. Remember I told you capital items are funded, either capital grants, SPOS, or this capital outlay. You can see water system improvements has a number of 432,805. That's like an odd number, right? But that was what John Sprague said you needed for well number 9.
Well number 9, and then there was a couple other improvements that we put there, but it's 300,000 for that. Also wanted to point out to you, we had discussion, you remember when we had the issue of Miss Bodie hit me up, she's like Miss Hartley, telegraph, councilwoman, and they got information through Facebook. Remember when you called me about the cloudiness in the water? That was generated because the well was going low on watering the well, and the pump was cavitating. That caused air to get in it. We had to clean it up. One of the things we want to correct in this well going forward, we want to make sure that there's an automatic alarm on there so that the pump would shut down, and then we switch to another source so we wouldn't burn up the pump. So that's why we went a little bit heavier on that to allow for that.
I just got a question since we're talking about well number 9. So how long will the well last?
Well, I'm not a well expert. I wish God.
Because the reason I said, because you said well number 1 through 5, we no longer have, they're dried up.
Yeah, but this city, I haven't done a historical guide, but I gotta believe we've had wells here for, you know, probably, some of probably more than 50, 60 years. Part of the study is, and I think I see where you're going, but I want to get to it. Part of the feasibility study was, is there enough water there? And will it last long enough to pay off the capital investment of the $300,000? That analysis was done by our professional services contracted engineer, did the hydrology report and determined the level of the aquifer where it's at, and that the water table will be there, that we'll be able to get our money back and get a return, because we buy 85% of our water from Henry County Water Authority, and every time they go up on a rate, we need to be passing it through. I mean, if we can reduce our dependency on them, then, you know, we can offer better rates and not have to go up as often on our customers. So that feasibility study was part of what I was alluding to when I talked to Mr. Byrd about it earlier.
I got one more question. I seen in the budget that we have money for leaks, but I think it said they only do it once a year, and I think we're at like 30% of water loss
You're absolutely right. I don't know that we've done it every year as much as we could. That's what I've been told. But I know that, I spoke to the engineer. He said we're in pretty good shape, but we need to do more repairs. Here's how it affects our bottom line. During, and just so everybody understands, we're one of the few communities that does not have a stormwater fee. And if you have stormwater fees, it could be as low as a couple dollars per bill per month, okay? You could take that money, set it aside, let it accrue so that you can fix leaks in your sewer system. What happens during rainy season, we've seen the analysis, when you get heavy rain and downpour during the rainy season, and you've got cracks and leaks in your sewer system, stormwater going down infiltrates, gets into your sewer system, goes through, and guess what? We're having to clean it, and we're running our cost through our sewage treatment plant. That expends our cost, that means it increases our cost, okay? And we want to stop the leaks, okay? We don't want to be scrubbing stormwater. We want it to go into the earth and let it go where it needs to go, okay? So we do need to more aggressively address our infrastructure needs. It's been a, and I want to, I got to say this, I got to defend our public works people. You've got 4 disciplines that those folks are having to deal with. And I think it's easy to throw criticism, but when you're trying to be responsible for an entire city, and you've got to clean the streets, cut the shrubs, deal with the infrastructure, this city, for instance, has no GIS mapping of all the infrastructure that was ever put in. If we were to say, show me, in other communities, you have a GIS map that shows where all your underground utilities are. This city simply doesn't have it. Those problems weren't addressed in the past. That's just a simple fact. This is a nice, quiet little town that got in the city business and the utility selling business and didn't have enough funding to build for the future, okay? Now, these folks in public works, they have to climb telephone poles, they gotta fix utility, they gotta fix our lights when they go out. They got to check. We got $93,000 in this budget to replace utility poles. Then you got to deal with wastewater, water, and taking care of the streets and paving. So they have done a phenomenal job, given the amount of work there is across 4 disciplines, and no more people than what they have. And I just would like for all of us to put it in proper context. And be fair in what our expectation is. This budget is calling for us to address and give the men and women in that department the tools they need so they can meet the challenges. They want to do a good job, but it's pretty difficult when you're drinking water out of a fire hose every single day.
I have one more thing I need to say. So I have been the most critical with Public Works in regards to the electrical department. I believe at the last budget, they asked for additional people, and I asked for justification. So I'm gonna ask you the same thing. I said we have 2 in here. And the reason I'm gonna go back to when I first got on the council. When I first got on the council, we did have 4 linemen. And we were presented with, city manager presented us with where the linemen did not have enough work, and he wanted to cut 2 of the linemen. The council allowed him to cut 1, so that's 3. So I'm trying to figure out what's justifying these 2 electrical linemen at this point in time.
Okay, first and foremost, you have senior employees. A couple of them are nearing retirement. When they walk out the door, they're going to have a lot of institutional knowledge is going to be. Secondarily, the capital improvement needs are different now than they were then when that decision was made. I'm not going to sit here and Monday morning quarterback what the dynamics were then. I'm not going to criticize you or anybody else that was on that council. Decisions are made, they're snapshots in time, okay? You got to deal with the elephant in front of you. You got to deal with that problem. What I do know here and now is we have certain employees that they can't deal with hair work and capital improvement upgrades. Like, what good is it for us to buy transformers
and change the transformers and replace meters and put in telephone poles and new utility poles, when we don't have the manpower to do it. So what happens when we don't have the manpower to take care of regular repairs and then do the capital improvement upgrades, what happens is we end up contracting that work out to others that cost us more money. Okay, so I'm also think that where we're going for with new positions, we want people coming in the door with a certain level of training, education, and certification so that they can hit the ground running and that they can aggressively handle some of these needs and benefit. It's kind of like the old bull, young bull. We want them to learn from the older employees that are here that have institutional knowledge about our system, our grid, what the traditional weak points are. But they also invigorate the employees with current knowledge, training techniques, and certification. So I think I just think it's wise. I don't want to reach critical mass.
So this is a part of the succession plan?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Any more questions, Dr. Council?
One more question. I noticed you placed, about the CDR budget, right? CDR budget.
City Hall.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
City Hall budget. City Hall budget.
City Hall? You mean the improvements, capital improvement? It's in the capital project list.
So when are you going to take this money?
Oh. All right, it'll be hit. I don't know that it's in the top 5, but I'll get it there as close as possible. All right, thank you.
Any more questions?
This budget has a 3% increase.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I'm sorry. God, that's one of the big ones. I forgot to thank for bailing me out, Mr. Murray. This budget does, I want to make sure that I reiterate it because I said it in the work session. It does contemplate a 3% increase for all employees, all regular employees. Okay, so that was already loaded, and we were still able to balance the budget, reduce, eliminate the sewer debt, and give you a professionally done budget that we all can be proud of. Two things, though, I do want to point out. I caught a question from Ms. Tarpley. The one thing that it doesn't address, and I tried to, remember we talked about water rates going up at the last thing. We reached out to Henry County Water Authority and got 2 responses. One call said they're not contemplating a rate increase. They did a rate increase in 2017 and a rate increase in 2015 or 16. But they were not contemplating a rate increase at this time. Had an employee call back 5 days later, called a different person and said, oh, by the way, we're going to present to the Water Authority a request for a 2% increase to go into effect in January of 2020. This budget doesn't contemplate it. I got conflicting news, and I frankly don't know. I think it's important to know for the citizens, you live in a unique county. You're the only county I've ever heard of in the state of Georgia that pays two meals on your property tax to a water authority. I don't know of any other that does it. It's unique to me in 159 counties. I don't know how the Henry County Water Authority did it. I don't know how you can be on a Hampton water system and then you got to pay 2 meals on your property tax to Henry County Water Authority. I applaud whoever the lawyer was that ramrodded that through the legislature. But that person,
Ernest Smith. He's the fellow that hired pretty well.
I'm just saying, it's interesting, but this budget doesn't contemplate a 2% rate increase. The other thing I have to tell you that the mayor and I have gotten a repeated letter from the managing director of Henry County Water, which he promptly, I hadn't been here but a couple months, and he sent me a bill for a Southampton subdivision, claimed that there's no evidence in the record. Now, I'll defer to
Mr. Berg, you know, any idea what year Southampton subdivision was done?
When?
Yeah, what year?
2005.
2005. It's 2019, and the Henry County Water Authority decided to scrub the records, and they sent the city of Hampton a bill for $102,000. They claim that we owe them money for impact fees that we collected for the residents that bought houses in that subdivision. They claim we collected it, and we didn't send them the money. So he says his records indicate that, he can't find any record that we ever sent back. I told him my records don't indicate that we ever got a bill from you, and I don't know that we owe you. And I can't find proof one way or the other that we didn't send it to you. So I'm just telling you, this budget doesn't contemplate whether or not we got a bill out there that we may be arguing over, but I haven't authorized anybody to cut a check to the Henry County Water Authority for $102,000.
So I got a question. So, I'm sorry, so, we're supposed to pay Henry County Water Authority our impact fees for water?
No, when development's coming, okay, sometimes the development is closer to hooking onto our system, and then this goes to the issue that gets me about, they collect 2 mil property tax from every citizen. And it's a whole lot cheaper to run water lines than it is sewer lines. But evidently, they haven't kept up with growth and they haven't invested in the infrastructure. They collect 2 mils from every property owner, commercial or residential. So plenty of times development comes in, and guess what? There's not a Henry County water line or sewer line close enough, so they hook on either the city of McDonough or Hampton's system. And our agreement, we have an intergovernmental agreement that Ms. Wiggins and I went over ad nauseum, and it was written pretty one way, frankly, and it's all in favor of Henry County Water Authority, in which we're supposed to collect it for every development that comes in that hooks onto their system. We're supposed to collect impact fees for them and send it to them. Conversely, if a development comes in that's just outside our jurisdiction and they want to hook onto our system, they have to pay our impact fees, they'll collect it, and then they'll send it to us. That IGA's been in plan for years and years and years and years and years. I don't know who drafted it, I don't know how it went in, but it's pretty one-way deal. And I think that that's an issue that we need to look forward to renegotiating or changing. But the bottom line is they send us a bill that's 14 years old and they want to collect on something. As far as I'm concerned, statute of limitations is over. But I don't, I'm not the lawyer here. This way it is.
Any more discussion? Okay. I need a motion to approve or disapprove?
With the
amendment?
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah,
I'd
go
like to
ahead.
make a motion to approve ordinance 495 to adopt the FY 2020 budget with the $50,000 to the DDA and the $30,000 to the sanitation amendment.
Okay. Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Passes 6-0 on first reading. Okay, consideration and action on approval of giving Mayor Hutch permission to hold a fall market in the parking lot of the train depot every Saturday during the month of October from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Somebody please give me.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion that we approve, consider action to approve giving you permission to hold fall market in the month of October from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Saturday.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Passes 6-0. Consideration and action on approval of the annual Porch Fest event to be held on October 12, 2019, from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Location of the event is Main Street and Cherry Street. The event is sponsored by the City of Hampton.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion that we approve, action for the annual Porch Fest event on October 12, 2019.
Do I have a second? Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Mr. Turner has a vote? Okay. 6-0. Consideration action on approval of Day of the Dead Chili Cook-Off to be held November the 2nd, 2019, from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Location of event is 8 Cherry Street. Event is sponsored by Glenn Colden and Jailhouse Brewery Company.
May I make a motion to approve?
I'm sorry, I need to recuse myself, my husband competes in this and there's a
Okay,
dash.
thank you, ma'am. Please step out. She wants that nice.
Don't get it.
Okay, go ahead.
May I make a motion to approve Day of the Dead Chili Cook-Off?
Okay. Do I have a second? I have a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Passes 5-0. 5 to 1, she abstained. Okay, so you can bring her back in.
It's 5 over there, not
5 of them. Okay, 5 of them. Okay, 5 of them. Come on, Friday night. Hope you win. E, consideration and action on approval of ordinance number 496 to annex certain properties bearing partial identification number NOS. Goodness gracious, 400-01008,000, 005-01, 006-001, and 009-01015001, 009-0102-1000, 009-0102-2000, and 010-0102-5002, 004-01007000, and 005-01008-000. One more, 005-0100900, and beginning 1,934.75 plus or minus acre into the city pursuant to the 100% method of the OCGA 363621 to amend this map of the map of Hampton and adjustment territory to the show. Mr. City Manager?
I just wanted to give some added information to the council and public regarding this. As you stated, I'm not going to, as you stated, it's 100% owner, it's the annexation by the 100% method, as Ms. Wiggins has already defined, and no public hearing is required. The landowners are not requesting a change in zoning. I have prepared a slide, asked Ms. Moore to prepare a slide that if Chief Hughes will put it up, and before I, so that you can see where it is geographically located. These applications were filed in the name of 4 LLPs, excuse me, 3 LLPs and 1 LP. They all have a common vice president. We have vetted it and verified that the applicant has legal authority to request on their behalf. You can see the parcels, they're west of 4119. There's a total of 10 parcels. I'm not going to go through the pain that the mayor suffered having to recall the numbers again. I'm not going to do that, but there are 10 parcels. They adjoin our city limits. They meet the legal requirements. You can see them all coming into focus right there. There are 10 total parcels. There's 9 and 10 just comes up. Parcel number 1 is 177 acres. Parcel number 2, the big one there in the middle, represents 1,080 acres. Parcel number 3 is 11, almost 11 and a half. Parcel 4 is 33.47 acres. Parcel number 5 is 54.81. Parcel number 6 is 332 acres. Parcel number 7 is 38 acres. Parcel number 8 is almost 62 acres. Parcel 9 is a little over 108. And parcel number 10 is 36 acres. The plus or minus, its estimated total acres at 1,934.75 acres. No request for change in zoning, 100% landowner method. We have complied with the law. We have notified, I sent a letter, it's in the package. I notified Madam Chairman June Wood of the Henry County Board of Commissioners. The letter is in there. We sent it email, certified mail, and hand-delivered via courier on Friday. Ms. Wood responded to me at 12:08 on Monday that she was in receipt of the letter, and they have acknowledged we have met all the legal requirements, and so it is before you on first read to accept the annexation.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Any motion to approve or disapprove?
May I make a motion to approve ordinance 496 for annexation?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Passes 6-0. Moving on to positive happenings. I'm gonna start with Councilman Brown.
I'm really excited about the attendance here tonight. I hope and pray that we continue to have more and more interest in our city government. Get your neighbors, take them out on a date for city council meetings, but they need to be aware of what's going on in our city so that they can keep us in line with what we need to do. So I'm very thankful that the turnout was as it is. I'm thankful for all of you who are here, and if you know someone that already left, please tell them I said thank you personally.
Mine very much excites me. Last year we had the Hampton softball team, they had made it to state to the Final Four, and they have made it to state again, and they had their first 2 games this evening, and they won both games.
So I am excited, Ms. Melissa and I, we've been actively working, in regards to the youth council. We, at this point in time, have 5 applicants. We're going to be getting that information out, and we'll be going over those applications. We're gonna leave it open because we have 2 slots are still available. So it's gonna be open until those 2 slots are actually filled. The school as well, Hampton High, has been assisting with getting the children, making that announcement at school so that they will know about it. I also want to say I'm just very thankful for Mr. Cohelas and his entire team for giving us such a wonderful presentation and budget that has surpassed anything that I've saw since I've been here. It goes back to having skilled, qualified individuals, you know, operating in the city. So thank you.
I want to give a thanks for the Public Works Department. In the past, when I passed by a few water leaks, I called, take 5 to 7 days to get there. But today, I passed the water leak and someone asked me, who should I call? They called the office here. Within 15 minutes, I was there. And I want to give thanks to them. And also thanks to the city manager for the awesome budget he put in place. And thank you to the city hall.
Mr. Turner.
I'd like to thank Ms. Correa, Mr. Walls, and the other financial staff for the job they're doing. I'm also excited about the 1,900 acres annexation that's coming in. So hopefully keep me the progress we're doing, we'll be all right.
Just wanted to thank everybody that had anything to do with this budget, and I'm glad it's about done.
I've got 2. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go first. I got last.
I have 2. I went to the doctor today, and I'm still cancer-free, thank you. And I have a new grandbaby that was born in Nashville, 8 pounds, and 11:48 a.m. Thursday morning, a little girl up there, named Gracie Elizabeth. And I'm just grateful, and I'm grateful that the turnout we had tonight. I'm glad to see that, and I hope to see it at every council meeting.
Mayor, can I ask y'all for a favor?
No, sir.
Can y'all make Alex Cohelius take a vacation, cause he's wearing us out? We ready to get the budget over too.
I want to publicly thank, Andrea Atwater, Wanda Moore, Rashida Fairley, Susan King in particular, not all of them in particular, but I also want to thank Ed Wall and our financial director to be, Lennox Michael Forsythe. The very first day he came to work, we needed to complete an inventory of all our equipment so we could not have the same negative comment on next year's audit as we had on this year's audit. And that required counting every nut, bolt, water meter. He was here till 10 o'clock on Monday, his first day. The ladies that I mentioned and the other staff have worked, along with Ed and I, day and night. There were many nights we didn't leave here before 10 o'clock. Last night even, just when we thought we had it all perfect at 5 o'clock, I foolishly found a mistake at 5 o'clock, and it took us till 9:45 to figure it out. But they're committed to doing the best for you and the citizens. As you are committed to doing the best for our citizens, we're committed to making you proud and the citizens proud. And I just want to thank you publicly for the hard work.
Okay.
I want to say one person, Main Street coordinator. She's a great singer. I never thought that she could sing like that. Let's say that to be with her council lady, Lori, she can concur with that. Very good singer. Congratulate her for her hard work.
Do we need to go to the executive session?
Yes.
It'll be short.
Need a motion to go into executive session? All in favor? That's 6-0, executive session at
Come to the Porch Fest this weekend. I got a plug in. The Porch Fest this weekend. Downtown jail, downtown Wait right there. But grab a flyer on your way out. But be here at 6 o'clock downtown.
That's what I wanted.
How you doing?
Oh, you are? Yes, I am too. I was, yes. 40 years. It was amazing to me. It was a champion. I mentioned that you might be able to
Thank you. Hang out with me and have a good time.
I don't know. And I was thinking, Captain Williams, also and see, we could reach out, that's probably we could reach out to Lovejoy, Sunnyside, or McDonough even, because we